Okay, hello, my friends. I'm not gonna fool Professor here today. Talk about personal effectiveness, and so we're gonna get into shit. Are you ready? As always, feel free to join live, feel free to chat, feel free to leave comments afterwards, and hopefully it will alert me and I'll see them. If you're following along in the book, we are on page 139 of the skills training manual. Okay, so we've already talked about man, which is to gain an objective. We talked about give, which is kind of be gentle and how to kind of make repairs. And we talked about fast, which is how to maintain your self-respect. I think we did the down game last time, which is to help you make choices and feel confident in how strongly you push to say yes, to say no, to get somebody to do something. All right, and today we're going to get into how to know people. If you're a very extroverted social person, this seems like it's pretty obvious, right? But if you're not, it actually is a skill that you need to learn and to develop. And especially as an adult, like there's a lot of misconceptions about there are misconceptions about how easy it is to have a social life. It's just not. It is very rare that an adult person in our society doesn't have trauma, has this completely happy, sweet, easy, peaceful life, full of friends and success and no anxiety, no depression, no trauma history. That is actually the exception and not the rule. The rule is that life is really hard and we have to work really hard to build the life that we want. So you're not doing it wrong. If you're lonely, if you're bored, if you're miserable, that's not uncommon. Like, especially given the state of our world right now, bless it, but it is hard to be okay right now. But you can do it with skills. Again, if you're a very social, extroverted person that just wants to talk to anybody and everybody and to make a friend, drop that, then you don't need these skills because you already have them naturally. You've learned them through trial and error and you learn them through your own just personality. But if you're introverted, if you're shy, if you had an amazing social network and then you moved, you went to college, you got divorced, you got out of prison, like whatever big changes happen that throw you kind of into the world, that can be a cause for having to kind of start over and develop relationships. Okay, so the way to build friendships, to find people and get them to like you. Finding friends takes effort. And you start off by looking at people who are just close to you, like literally proximity. So this would be people in your town, your neighbors, people in your class, people in your church, people in your volunteer group, people that just you literally run into on a daily basis, people at the coffee shop that you go to. Just if you see people often, those are the people to start trying to make friends with. It's kind of that simple. And I tell people all the time, you don't know who your next best friend will be. It could be the barista. It could be the kid that you don't think you would like in your class. You don't know anything about them, whatever. But maybe that is going to be the next best friend that you have. You don't know them until you know them. So you really have to get to know people. And unfortunately, this means small talk. This means just shooting the breeze with them, having casual, silly little interactions, and that builds and that builds and that builds. So shyness is just a form of anxiety, it's social anxiety. It's very uncomfortable to push past that and force yourself to small talk and BS and just get to know people. But just like every other anxiety and every other phobia, the more you do it, the easier it gets. I myself am a very introverted person. I don't understand people who enjoy just like talking about the weather to the person checking you out at the grocery store or commenting on whatever is going on, somebody at the post office, or just saying like, oh, that test was hard to somebody in class. Like that kind of stuff is not rewarding to me at all. It makes me anxious. It's unpleasant. I'm not really interested in it. Why would I bother doing that? Turns out, some people are extroverted and enjoy doing that and just do it for no particular reason. I don't understand them. I'm happy for them. But for us introverted, shy people who do want friends and who do need more humans in our lives, that's where you have to start. Like you can't really just jump into like these deep soul connection levels without having first gone through those little like, how are you doing today kind of interactions. So people at work, class, organizations that you're in, neighborhoods, just literally close proximity people, start small talking with them. And then as you do that, you'll be like, oh, you're really smart, or that person is really funny, or me and that person have the same interest in politics, or you will find the ones who you want to take it to the next level, and then the next level, and then lo and behold, you are best friends, and they're the maid of honor at your wedding. So step one, just start small talking to people that are near you. Step two, search out people who have similar interests. So interests and attitudes, I'm just reading about politics, lifestyles, morals. And again, this would be church. This would be classes in like upper level classes that you pick because you care about finances, or you care about social justice, or you care about the law, or I think we did values and goals, right? This is why, yet another reason, the values and goals are so important. You need to know what you care about. Hey, Fire. You need to know, do you care about social justice? What side of the political landscape do you lean on? Are you an artsy person? And so joining groups that have similar interests, you automatically have something to talk to them about. Step one, proximity. Step two, similar interests. I have met and just fallen in platonic love with some of the coolest people in my life through grad school or through my jobs when I was doing social work kind of work. Because those people, somebody who has a graduate degree in social work is probably going to be a certain kind of person, right? We all probably lean pretty heavily towards one side of the aisle. We all probably are interested in social justice stuff. We're all probably pretty empathetic. We're all probably, we're similar. So back to your values and goals, another reason to join groups. Church is such a platter of a smorgasbord of good stuff. And I'm not necessarily saying that the Christian church, because Lord knows we all have some complicated dynamics with that. But Buddhist or non-denominational or whatever, like some kind of spiritual grouping, like Wiccan groups, like any of those things automatically have socialization, a reason to get up and get out of bed, a reason to take a shower, other human beings that are like you, a way to volunteer, usually a way to give back to the world, some comfort in a higher power, universal belongingness. Like it really is a good package of like, here are a whole bunch of your needs met in one spot. Not that you need to be religious, not that you need to be spiritual, but if you are, if you have any inkling towards that, it can be a very healthy thing. Also very complicated, so take that with a grain of salt. Okay. 2 ways to do it: proximity, similarity. Then, once you're there, how to not be a weirdo, how to be socially fluid and suave and charming, and how to carry on a conversation. Again, this is a skill, and people who are born of caregivers who are good at this learn how to do it. It's people who are in situations where it's kind of natural to do it, learn how to do it. If you're busy trying to survive trauma, if you grew up in the sticks, if you moved around every 6 months, you may not have developed those skills. Or if you just have that biology, like a very shy. So, easiest thing, develop relationships, ask questions. People love to talk about themselves. It's not a bad thing, but it is a true thing. All you really have to do is just ask a lot of questions. What did you think about that exam? What did you study for this upcoming thing? Do you know the due date of whatever? Are you going anywhere on spring break? Just, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? Just like, how do you like the weather? Did you see the game? Like, just any kind of question. And then a follow-up question, and another question. And then, I do whatever. Because you might be like trying to talk to somebody who also is very introverted and shy and does not have the same social skills. So just asking questions, chit-chatting, talking about whatever you see or feel or hear, chit-chatting. I, as like an INFP, kind of introverted, artistic person, that stuff is annoying to me. And when I was younger, I did not realize the importance of it. It's warm. Like, why are we going to sit here and talk about how warm it is? That's cool. But I want to know, like, how does your soul feel and the meaning of life? I would love to talk to anybody about feelings and existential thoughts and their opinion of that art piece or whatever. I love to talk about the deep stuff, the fluff and blah. Did not realize that it's actually an important building block to get to the deeper stuff. And you actually probably shouldn't get into a lot of deep stuff with people that you don't know very well. This goes back to boyfriend, girlfriend, intimate relationship stuff. You start out with $1, and if they give you the $1 back, then you give them $5. And if they pay you $5 back, then you give them $20. And if they pay you $20 back, and then you build up to loaning them your car. Do not loan somebody your car who you have not tested to see if they'll give you $1 back. And I mean that in a literal sense, but in that figurative sense of like, do not trust somebody with your trauma history if you haven't talked to them about their beliefs about mental health. Like, start little and build up to the bigger stuff. Brene Brown has some really good stuff about this on people should have to earn the right to hear your story. She talks about floodlighting people. So a really common thing that highly sensitive people with trauma histories will do is just, it's that all or nothing thing, right? Which is like this whole book. Too little, zero. I'm not going to trust anybody at all. But when I do, I'm going to tell them my entire childhood history, narrative, the time that I did whatever in the bathroom of the gas station. Like, I'm going to tell them all the stuff. So you're on like a bus going somewhere, you start chit-chatting to the person next to you, and all of a sudden you dump all of this stuff at once on them. And it's like shining a floodlight in their eyes. And so they're like, they have this like, reaction. And then of course you feel like, see, I knew it. Nobody wants to hear my story. Nobody can handle me. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen. Like, I get rejected. When in reality, you're breaking social norms, and it's kind of rude a little bit too. Like, they're not giving you permission to give them this heavy story. We're just talking about the weather. They've only given you permission to talk about the light stuff. You really need to earn the space to give people that intense information. And vice versa, right? You need to also hear their stories. But that takes time to develop and trust to develop. And if you give it too soon, people will be a little bit freaked out. They're like, whoa, we're at like a cocktail party. Why are you telling me about your ex-boyfriend's drug habits? Like, like it is a social faux pas. And those rules are developed for a reason, to protect you, for one thing. You know, you give all that information to somebody and they could take advantage of you. They could reject you. They could drop it. And now you're all vulnerable and open and bleeding. And that person is like, oh, and walks away. Or they tell you that it was all your fault. Or, you know, like a lot of bad things can happen if you don't know that person well enough when you kind of share this huge, intense story with them. So the way that you decide how much to share and how to stay in that neutral ground is just kind of play off of what they're sharing. You know, and if they're talking about a breakup, then you can talk about a breakup. If they're talking about only superficial stuff, then you probably don't want to go too deep. And then you can just test it out a little bit and a little bit and test out a little bit and a little. That's that $1, $5, $20 increments, and not just giving them the keys to your car. And that's not, it's hard. It is easier to be black and white, right? It is easier to say, I am not going to talk to this person at all, or I'm going to tell them my whole life story. Not, I'm going to test and see and play off of them and slowly develop it. And that's hard. It takes time and patience and effort. It is always so much easier to do black and white. I'm going to do nothing, or I'm going to do it 100%. It is hard to do 20% and 70% and 50%. And it's 99.97% more effective, more often more effective. The middle path is almost always the answer. There are very few times when that extreme position is going to be the answer. Okay. So making small talk, asking and responding to questions, self-disclosing skillfully. Don't interrupt. This whole book is just talking to me. So I am both a shy, introverted, reserved person. And if I know you well, and if I'm excited about a topic, I like, it's so excited. I want to talk about everything, and I'm gonna talk fast and jump in. And I also came from a family, where it was normal for everybody to kind of talk a lot, and talk loud, and talk over each other. There's actually, we're not Jewish, but there's a Jewish saying or understanding, I forget the name of it, probably saw it on TikTok, but it said that they feel like it's rude in a social conversation if you don't start talking before the other one kind of finished, because it seems like you're not listening. And so that sometimes talking over each other and talking quickly and talking a lot and talking fast and interrupting is just a very normal social dynamic in some groups. It's not the way with the rest of the world. So if I'm from my brother about something that we're really geeked out on, he'll be like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And we'll just like talk all over each other. But it doesn't bother either one of us. Like, that's just a normal, fun fast conversation between the two of us. Husband, on the other hand, drives him crazy. It really annoys him if I interrupt him. It's like he loses train of thought and he feels like totally like he feels like it's rude. Neither one is right, but it is inconsiderate to not consider your audience. It's inconsiderate to not consider them. So just know who you're talking to. Typically, it is impolite to interrupt people. If you do, I have learned with this tendency, one thing I'll do is say, "Ooh, pause it," and then I can say my thing, and then be like, "Okay, sorry about that. Tell me what you're gonna say." Or if I accidentally interrupt, then just make sure you go back and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for interrupting. What was it you were gonna say?" Or, "Oh, that was rude. I'm sorry. Go ahead." Just acknowledge that you've done it and then give them permission to pick back up where they left off, because it's kind of like with the validation piece when you're showing equality, saying, "I understand what you're talking about." You want to do that, but then you want to throw it back to them. And so if you interrupt somebody, just make sure you throw it back to them, and that'll kind of salve the wound a little bit. And you can also learn things to talk about. Like if you really have difficulty with this, like the stuff I listed, like the weather, sports. This is another reason I'm bad at it, because like, what do I care about culture? But if you're really bad about this and you know you're going to a football game, like research a little bit about the football game, research a little bit about pop culture, like research a little bit about whatever it is that the group of people that you're around might care about. Express liking. We like people who like us. And so if you have like an autistic bend, if you have an ADHD bend, if you have a valley kind of aspect of your personality, you might have this resting bee face. You might have a very like cold presentation. If you talk in a monotone voice, if you don't have a lot of expressions, people are going to think you don't like them. Even if you do. And maybe you don't know that about yourself. If people have said that to you, or if you have a really hard time connecting with other humans, check your face. You need to like have like this eyebrows, leaning in, kind of facial changes as they're talking, smiling at them, making eye contact. All of these nonverbal cues tell the other person that you give a crap about them and that you like them and that you're interested in them. And so just smiling, just making eye contact, just having a variety of facial expressions will help. Complimenting people. If you have no other idea how to start a conversation, just say, "I like your shirt." "Oh my God, your hair looks so cute today." Like you can say a compliment to anybody, anywhere about them, and they love it. People eat it up. You remember compliments that you've gotten over your life? They stood out. Like people like to be complimented, and maybe they'll just say, "Thanks." And then, you have to think, is there something else you can say? Or you can ask where they got it. Or you can say, "Yeah, you always have such good style." Or, maybe it'll just drop. Some people are not going to take the lines that you're casting out. But that's why you got to cast out 1,000 of them. Obviously, don't do it too much or it's weird. But compliments, man, that's the fastest way to spark a conversation. And man, you can find anything to say something nice to somebody else about. Let me remind you though, that this is going to be scary. You're gonna have a lot of anxiety. If this applies to you, your hands are going to be sweaty, your voice is going to be shaky. It's going to be hard and scary. But remember, danger is the only reason why you should justifiably have fear and anxiety. And the worst that anybody could do is like ignore you, tell you to mind your own business. You know, like it feels like you're going to die from rejection or you're going to die from looking stupid, but nobody has as far as that goes. Okay, so you're at a party, you're at an office meeting, you're in a class, and people are already grouped up. This happens to me. I grew up in a very small town, and I knew everybody from birth. And I was like a fairly socially popular person. Like I had plenty of friends, and I knew everybody that existed, and I had no idea that I did not know how to meet and make friends because I already had them. And then I went to the giant university where there was just a sea of thousands of people, and I knew no one. And that was the moment that I realized I had no idea how to meet people and make friends. I was horrible at all this stuff. Like I did not learn it until, geez, like grad school maybe. Like it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of loneliness and a lot of just like, because I thought everybody already knew each other, because everybody already was in groups, everybody was already talking to somebody else, everybody had this social life, and I didn't know how to like insert myself or become a part of all of it. Know that I should just start small talking because I don't like small talking. Like why would I small talk to somebody? Turns out that's how you make friends. I did not know that. So if they're already grouped up, you have to go do the approaching. And that's what I was waiting on too. It's like, I'm here, everybody. Like somebody come meet me. Somebody come make me your friend. Somebody come drag me into your group. That's not gonna happen. Rarely. So if you wait for people to approach you, you may never have friends. You have to go put yourself out on a limb, and you have to go make the connections yourself with the small talk. So there are two different kinds of groups: open groups and closed groups. To figure out whether they're open or closed, you literally like look. Okay, so you go into the room and there's like a pocket of people here and a pocket of people here. There's one type of group where people are just kind of standing around, they're looking in different places, they're kind of like talking, but it's not like intense. Literally their body posture is kind of turned this way and that way. This is an open group. They're talking about something very general interest, the weather, chiming in, not chiming in, looking around. That is an open group, and that's easy to join in. You literally just go stand next to them and start talking. A closed group, everybody's standing really close together. They're all focused on each other. It's an animated conversation. There's very few gaps. They're talking about something specific, and the members are kind of like paired off or talking like closed group, open group. Closed group, and it'll probably be weird if you just go up and are like, hey, what are you guys talking about? You could. I mean, it depends on the context, but it will probably be seen as rude and invasive and, again, like a social faux pas. We don't do that. Unless you already know the people. But even then, like, it's a little bit intrusive and, what's the word? Not arrogant, but forward, I guess. So with the open group, that is just like a casual kind of gathering of people that are waiting to develop a conversation that will turn them into a closed group. So you just gradually kind of sidle up to them. You don't want to like creep up. You don't want to eavesdrop. This is why it's so helpful to have food and drink. Having something in your hand makes it a lot less awkward. But you just kind of walk up, kind of point your body in that direction, and stand beside them and then chip in on the conversation. You could, I'm reading her specific ideas. You can also offer drinks. Hey, I'm gonna go grab a drink. Does anybody want one? If you know them a little bit well. Just introduce yourself. So sidle up to them and there's a little pause. Like, hey guys, I'm Stephanie. How's it going? That feels so cringy and awkward to me, but it does work. And then they'll be like, oh, hey, I'm blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And we were just talking about blah, blah, blah. And now you're a part of the group too. The most direct and least negative consequences, because the other ones are like, oh, they're being a creeper. That's weird. Do they really want to come in? Are they eavesdropping? Like, the best way is just say, hey, mind if I join you? And unless they really are a closed group talking about like some kind of like, you know, so-and-so's cheating on their boyfriend, they'll probably be like, of course. And then you just make introductions. You just say, hey, I'm blah. Who are you? Blah. And then it starts, and then it starts, and then it goes. And then you do the dollar, and they do the dollar, and you do $5, they do $5, and before you know it, you have made a connection. Once you've made those connections and you kind of vaguely know people, then you catch little pieces of similarities. Oh, you went to France on a work study program. I've always wanted to go, or I love French theater, or, you know, you just find a more specific topic and then elaborate on that and ask more questions about that and give a little bit of information about yourself on that. And you will find people that are really like abrasive and you don't like them, and you'll find people that you really do like. The ones that you really do like, when all of that is over, afterwards, try to extend it a little bit. Hey, you want my number? Oh, we should go get some lunch after this and talk about Rwanda. Like, whatever it is that you have kind of connected on, try to extend it a little bit further. If you're in school or if you're at work, asking for favors can be a really helpful thing. There's this psychological fallacy kind of, or just habit. If I've invested in you, I'm going to care more about you. If I've already given you a pen, I'm going to be more willing to give you $1. If I've already like told you what page we're on, I'm going to be more likely to do a study date with you. If I've already shown you how to use the copy machine, I'm going to want to also show you where the office supplies are. Once we've invested a little bit in somebody, we now have a vested interest because we put our time and effort into them. Even though it's silly, like who cares whether you show them where the copy machine is or not? It tricks us into liking them more. You like people who you've done favors for. Doesn't make any sense, but it's true. So asking for tiny little favors, just like what page are we on in the book? Or, hey, can you open the door for me? Or, do you mind giving me a ride to the bus stop? I don't know. Whatever it is, ask for a little favor, then they will be more interested in and want to continue the relationship a little bit. The study that they found that out on was they asked people to put little like postcards in their window supporting like, I don't know, recycling or something on half the street, and then half the street they didn't. And then afterwards they asked them to put in like a bigger thing, like a sign in their yard. And if they had already agreed to do the postcard, they're more likely to do the sign. It's called, I don't remember what it's called, but there's a term for it. Okay. And really, again, it's just all about anxiety, and it's all about exposure therapy with social anxiety, and just moving forward and casting 1,000 different lines and 1,000 different nets, and eventually you will find some. There are people like you, and it's really hard. You have to make a lot of effort to find them. If you're going through life lonely, either you've got some real poor social skills in like how you connect and validate and communicate and interact with people. Either you've met a lot of people and kind of lost them because you don't have the skills to kind of have relationships and keep them, or you're not meeting enough people. All humans are lovable. All humans deserve relationships. You can find and develop and grow relationships and keep relationships, but each part of that step takes a lot of skill. And this idea that it's all just like the 1990s Friends show, no, that's not how it is. Also, it is very normal for two people to come together and walk on the same path for a while and then split off. You know, you move, you graduate, you begin to have different political beliefs, you get into different religions. One of you gets married and the other one doesn't. One of you has kids and the other one doesn't. Like, this is normal for the paths to merge and then separate, merge and separate, merge and separate. It is so rare for you to be best friends with a guy that you were in Head Start and kindergarten with till the day you die. So rare. What are the odds that somebody that happened to be born in the same place as you at the same time as you will also be just like you and stay near you both y'all's entire lives? Maybe in like 1850, but not now. That is so rare. And so don't take it personally when you lose friends, you know, when you grow apart, and let it grow apart. It's so sad. There's some friends in my life that are so beloved to me and I miss them dearly, but we are just totally different people now. And it would take a lot of effort and energy for me to stay connected to somebody that has moved across the country, for somebody who has changed their entire political belief system in a different way than mine, for somebody who is like backpacking across Australia while I'm home with kids. That takes immense, massive amounts of energy to stay connected. And you can, there's nothing wrong with it if you're willing to put in that amount of energy. But at some point, the cost benefits will not align. And sometimes you just need to let people go and be grateful for the time that y'all spent on the path together. Love and cherish those memories. And when you break apart, allow it to be broken apart and allow them to go their way. You go yours, no hard feelings. We'll reconnect at so-and-so's wedding, or I'll mail you a Christmas card. And now this is the dynamic in our relationship. You know, we're not college roommates anymore. We're just, our lives are totally different. And you know, it's like trying to straddle the two paths that are getting further and further apart. And okay. 143 is just talking about mindfulness of others, trying to get out of your own head and just really paying attention to other people. Observe, let go of the focus on yourself. Describe, let go of the judgmental words, replace with descriptive words. Avoid questioning people's motives, avoid assuming and interpreting, give them a little benefit of the doubt, throw yourself into interactions, go with the flow. Good things for mindfulness of others. Okay, we have just enough time on how to get out of a relationship. Like I said, sometimes you know, but okay. And this mainly I'm talking about friendships, but this also, of course, relates to intimate relationships as well. All right, you need to break up with somebody. Never, ever, ever break up with somebody when you're in emotion. If you have it. Always come to that decision in a not just logical, but wise mind place. Take into account your emotions, take into account your logic. That is wise mind. That is the middle path. Try to make these big decisions in wise mind. There's a difference between an interfering relationship and a destructive relationship. These are her words in their little, I don't know, kind of mode. But in her words, a destructive relationship has the quality of destroying or completely spoiling the quality of the relationship or aspects of yourself. So like, it's not safe for your physical body, your self-esteem, your sense of integrity, your happiness, your peace of mind, or whether you can care about the other person. So that is a destructive relationship. An interfering relationship is one that blocks or makes difficult pursuing goals, ability to enjoy life and do things you like doing, your relationship with other persons, or the welfare of others. The reason that matters is she's saying that you can break it down into, if it's just interfering and it's important, then you can problem solve to repair a difficult relationship. It's clear as mud, because some of these things, like if it's the welfare of others that you love, that seems pretty destructive. Regardless, figure out, like, can I stay safe in this relationship? Can I pursue joy and happiness while this relationship is happening? Can I maintain my self-esteem in this relationship? Is it actually dangerous? And if it is dangerous, that's kind of the first question. If it is, maybe try a little bit of problem solving, but not for long, and do it from a distance. Nobody deserves an abusive relationship, even if you love the person, even if you understand why they're doing it, even if whatever. Stay safe, work on it, and then get out of it if you have to. So if the relationship is important and it's not destructive, it's not like one of those category 7, like it's really dangerous bad, then try problem solving to repair it. If you have decided there is no repairing, we've tried to repair 7 times, it is dangerous, it is a detriment to my health and well-being, then this is how you get out of it. Number 1, don't do it when you're upset and emotional. Number 2, cope ahead and plan out how you're going to do it. Do a dear man, or write a letter, list all the pros and cons, like however you're going to talk to this person, however you're going to get out of it, if you even need to talk to them. Be direct, use your dear fat man, give fast skills, be direct, cope ahead, do it at a time where you don't need a ride home from them, they're not about to go into work, like really think it through in a logical way of what would be the best time to have this conversation. And then you practice opposite action for love. Once you have broken up with somebody, do not Facebook stalking. Don't look at your old love letters. Don't read through your old texts. Don't drive by their house. Don't ask your friends how they're doing. Once you've made the decision, really make the decision to step back, because each one of those repetitions, which is what love and lust and joy and pleasure make you want to do, repeat it, you're just maintaining that feeling, and it's just going to break your heart even longer, or make you get back to somebody that you've already chosen in a wise mind's place is not somebody that you want to be with. So don't torture yourself with the joy, love, and pleasure and lovey-dovey stuff that you had. And sometimes we can get into that real romantic, like nostalgic, weepy, breaking up kind of place where we do want to just eat ice cream and read their letters and whatever. I mean, if you need to do it for like 10 minutes, 10 days on like intentional grieving kind of cleansing thing, by all means, if it's working for you, do it. But if you're really having trouble leaving a relationship, then don't do those things. Those things will only torture you. Those things are not healthy and not helpful and will continue this feeling. It's like, you're getting this splinter out, but then you're also like just sticking tweezers back in and like digging around in it. This book was actually in 2015, so it's only 7 years ago now. I don't know when they updated this. I don't know what they were thinking. I've not Googled this myself, but surely to all things, this is an out-of-date reference. But the meaning of it is true. Practice safety first, If it's highly abusive, if it's life-threatening, call the domestic violence hotline, 1-800-799-7233 for them. And get help with safety and planning and get referred to a professional. Also, there's an international directory of domestic violence agencies. This is why I like, and it's hotpeachpages.net. They chose that name so that if you're in an abusive relationship, your partner will be suspicious looking at your search history and your website history. Personally, I think that Hot Peach Pages is a pretty like weird name. Surely it's changed by now. I don't know. Go Google it. Go to the library and Google it. Get on your friend's phone and Google it. It's like, whatever. Get domestic violence help if you're in a domestic violence situation. And just like 2 words on that. The cope ahead part, if it's really like serious, get your important documents together secretly, pack a bag secretly, get some cash secretly, and have like a go bag ready, because you don't know when the next big thing is going to happen. You're gonna need to grab it and go. So I hope that nobody is trapped in one of those spots, but if you are, do it very carefully and have what you need ready to go. Have it in your car, stash it at a friend's house. You know, it takes a lot to leave somebody. It really does, because when people are in abusive relationships, they're always shocked and always tell me in like this bit of like surprise, and you don't understand. But they're a really good person also. But they have, talking about the abusive person, but I love them because they're so good in this. But we're so attached, and they're so funny, and they're so loving, and they're so kind, and they were so great, and they have such great qualities, as though it's like shocking that this abusive person that they're with can also have these good qualities. And I always tell them, no kidding. Yes, every abusive relationship has some kind of reason why you have stayed this long. Yes, they're beautiful, wonderful human beings. Yes, you love them dearly. Yes, when they make up, it fixes everything, and they're so kind and wonderful and attractive and perfect. Yes, of course they are. Because if they were only a piece of garbage, it would be real easy to leave. Now, of course, you know, if they have finances and you don't, if y'all have kids, if y'all have a house, like sometimes people can just be pure like bad news and you still can't leave them. But if you're in that abusive, kind of destructive, toxic relationship and you're struggling with both wanting to stay and wanting to go, of course they have these good qualities. All abusive partners that are hard to leave have good qualities, unless it's just blackmail. That's what makes it hard to leave. And you still probably need to leave. If you've gone through all of the problem solving, if you have tried, if the pattern repeats over and over and over again, you're going to have to leave and grieve and mourn and be sad about what you're losing, because there will be some wonderful, beautiful parts that you're going to have to let go of, in addition to the bad, abusive, scary, awful parts. Join Facebook groups, join support groups. You know, the story of a domestic abuse survivor is not unique. Like, it is the same thing that other people have experienced, I promise. So get support, get help, cope ahead, have a safety plan if you need to leave one of those kind of relationships. If it's just a friendship or just like a dating kind of situation where you've just decided like it's better not to be in them, then kind of cope ahead, use your skills, be direct, that kind of stuff. It's really hard for people pleasers and people who are very empathetic, because they can see the pain that the other person is going to be in if they leave, and so they sacrifice their own joy and pleasure and peace just so the other person doesn't have to have the pain. And they're grown. They're grown. That is on them. It is okay for you to take care of yourself. All right, my friends. We're done for today. Next time we will get into dialectics, which is kind of a big existential topic. Behaviorism, that can be kind of scientific and heavy. But I bet we can get into both those sometime. And then after that, we'll just hit on anything that we haven't touched on in this first series. So glad for y'all to show up today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.